What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? It's your boy Mike Robinson, and this is another episode of Let's Take a Walk. I hope everybody had an amazing week. I definitely did. And as like I always say, man, the week just fly by, man. I went to sleep on Sunday night, man, and I woke up. It was Friday morning, but here we go. Here we are. This is my favorite time of the week. Tonight, just like every other night we are on here, we have the best, busiest, dopest guests that we can find, most interesting guests that we can find. And as you know, we are entering into that time of year when your stamp, your opinion, your viewpoint matters. It's that time to elect some of our new officials, and so tonight I have one of those great officials. We have Miss Andrea Diggs. She is a city council candidate for the city of Newport News here in Virginia. In addition to being I don't want to steal her thunder, but in addition to being a city council candidate, she is also an entrepreneur and a medical official. But I don't want to go too deep into it. I don't want to steal her thunder. For those of you who may not be familiar with Ms. Diggs, I'm going to give her a moment to kind of reintroduce herself and just give a little background to who she is and some of the things that she has going on. So with that being said, Ms. Diggs, you had the floor.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me. Hello, everyone. Yes, my name is Andrea Diggs. I am a candidate for the City of Newport News' Central District City Council race. The election is November 5th. A little bit about me. I am a licensed clinical social worker in the state of Virginia. I'm actually a licensed master social worker in the state of New York as well. I am the CEO of a mental health practice in Newport News, where we provide mental health services, including intensive in-home services to adolescents and youth. I also run a nonprofit, a federally funded nonprofit. We're funded by the federal government, state government, and the localities that we serve, where we work with people with disabilities. I've been in the mental health field for quite a long time. I'm just getting over into politics, but I believe that that I am unique, not just because I am the only woman on the ticket in this race. I am competing against several males for the position in Newport News, and there's only one other woman who is also running in Newport News. Out of all of the leadership, there will be at most 2 women, and that's assuming both of us win our elections. And so, but not only am I the only woman in the candidate, I think as a clinical social worker, I'd like for everyone to know as a clinical social worker that I do have a very unique perspective on people, on dealing with the needs of people, on identifying the needs and possible solutions. And so I'm here to talk to you all and find out anything that the people want to know. Again, I thank you for having me.
Absolutely. This time of year is always interesting for me, just because I'm just the type of person that likes to see what makes people think, if you will. I mean, what makes people tick, if you will.
What makes people tick?
Make people tick. So
that's a lot different than what makes people think.
Right. What makes people tick? Why people do what they do. And usually when I have guests on and I talk to them, or not even just when I'm on here, but when I just talk to people who do things that are kind of out of the norm or out of the box, like what you're embarking on. Usually they tell me that there's something missing in whatever vocation or whatever industry or whatever event they're trying to go into. There's something missing and they're trying to fill a specific void. So in this case, what's missing? Why are you doing what you're doing? Is there something missing? And if you feel like there's something missing, what's missing?
Well, I think that a lot of times, if we look at, and this is not specific to Newport News, but local leadership, also state and federal leadership, we see a lot of architects, maybe businessmen, lawyers, engineers in these fields. They're typically filling these seats. Um, so what's missing, I think, and this is not specific to any persons that's on, of course, our city council, but basically my perspective is missing. I bring a unique view. The training that I have as a clinical social worker in empathetic active listening, things like that, in ethics, that's missing. Again, not specifically about anybody else, but my awareness of clinical issues, my awareness of adverse childhood experiences, of social determinants of health, neuropsychology, cultural humility, things that I have been trained on, that I have studied. And I'm not saying that it's only my training and my study, but I have actually studied this. I actually have a license, a clinical license that says that I am the expert, if you will. And that is what I believe is missing from not just Newport News, but a lot of leadership.
Okay. Um, was there a specific moment that, or was it kind of a conglomerate of moments that led to you deciding to throw your hat in the ring? Like, what made you decide, hey, I'm going to do this? Was there a powerful moment, or was there like I said, a combination of moments that led to this chain
I
reaction?
think there were I think there were a combination of moments. One of the things that I do right now is I lead a nonprofit. And so I'm seeing people every day that are coming in with different needs. So I think that most recently, one of the major things that caused me to say, okay, what are we doing, is the changes to the city. And again, I think, or I don't know if I said this before, but I think Newport News is on a decent and a good track in terms of the changes. It's very progressive. And so I think I fit in, and this is the time because of the, sorry, I'm getting distracted a little bit, but because of the progression in Newport News, I do believe that it's a good time for me. About what caused me to say now is, again, I'm seeing people coming in who are having housing issues. For example, there's a lot of things that are taking place in Newport News for the good, but they're also impacting people in ways that maybe we didn't necessarily think about. And so most recently, again, I've seen a number of people coming in to my nonprofit, which serves people with disabilities, various disabilities, any and all disabilities, coming in with needs that maybe we didn't look at. Housing is one of them that I think is getting more and more serious, not just for low income or not just for people with disabilities. Housing is a thing that even I'm looking at for personally. And so I think as we're building, because Newport News has been tearing down housing, they've been building new homes, and I think we don't want people to get lost. And so I've always been very interested in politics. I've raised my children to be interested in politics. My daughter is a rising junior at the College of William and Mary. She's always been in politics. We've done campaigning together since she was a little girl. She's helping out right now on the campaign. And so I think while I've always been interested, now was the time, looking at this progressive city council and city leadership that we have right now, and then seeing the very significant and serious needs that I've been seeing coming through, not just my nonprofit, but also my mental health practice. You're muted and I cannot hear you.
Sorry about that. Has your perspective on politics changed now that you are a politician, so to speak?
Changed, I think.
Has your opinion of
It has
politics?
been enlightened. My opinion changed. Yes, it has. Getting an insider view to how things are done is something that I still have to get adjusted to, because I have always prided myself on being honest, on being a people person, on giving people a chance. And, you know, it looks a little messier than what I thought sometimes.
Mhm.
And so my truth is that, yes, my opinion on politics, if you will, has absolutely changed. Absolutely.
Have you found a balance between being a city council candidate and being a citizen? And what I mean by that is, like, as a citizen, we have certain sensibilities and things that we want for our respective communities, for our children, our schools, of course, and the police and all these things, all these concerns and stuff like that, and that we think are important, that we feel are important to us. Now that you are kind of like in the ring, where you are one of the people that help to make some of the decisions that shape your community. Um, is it hard for you to has it been a challenge for you to balance being a citizen versus being, what I'm saying, being in the politics, but being a citizen in the environment as well? Have you found a way to balance the two?
I think so. I'm not elected yet, but we're speaking that into advance, right?
Right.
Into existence, right? But I think that it's extremely important when you're representing people to remember that you can't make everybody happy. You
Hmm.
probably are not going to be able to please everyone, and that's something in politics that I'm aware of. That's something that I am going to be very conscientious about. I do have my personal things and personal thoughts, but even my personal feelings, of course, they're probably going to differ from some of my constituents. When I'm elected, I'm not just going to be elected to serve the people who voted for me, right? I'm going to be elected to serve even those people who did not vote for me. And so
Right.
that absolutely will be a challenge. And that will be a dynamic that I'm going to have to get adjusted to, in trying to make sure that I'm serving and listening to those people and making sure that I'm listening to everyone, sometimes having to lay my own opinions to the side.
Right. And that's exactly that. That's you hit it right on the head. And that's the reason. That's the pinpoint of the question that I'm asking. Like, has it been a challenge? Is that a challenge for you to maybe sometimes lay your personal concerns down to give way to the masses, so to speak?
You know, I thank you for asking that question, because I think that is a challenge for a lot of politicians. For me, I
Hmm.
don't think it'll be a challenge because of the work that I've done, because of the work that I currently do. Again, my training teaches me that I can't be biased, right? I have a clinical
Right.
license that says I can't be biased. And so I'm trained not to. I'm trained to lay my opinions to the side. I'm trained to, when something comes up that triggers me, if you will, in terms of mental health language, to actually
Mhm.
go back and sit with myself and identify that and explore that. And I think that's something that people have to learn to do, right? That's something you have to be intentional to do. And I think that I do that well. And so, to answer your question, no, I don't think that will be a problem for me, but I do think that that's a problem for a lot of people who are in these positions.
Wow. You mentioned earlier about the importance and the significance of being one of the few female candidates. Why is that important? And from your point of view.
Representation, visibility, women's rights, all these things that are on the ballot. Look at what happened with the Supreme Court, Roe versus Wade. That's
Mhm.
not just a federal thing. You know, we tell people all the time that what's happening at the local level is probably what's most important to you.
Right.
And so, do we want 7 men running a city and dictating what happens when a city that's over 50% women? And
Okay.
so, I also think that the perspective of a woman is important, it's unique, and it's different. And women are nurturers, and we're all these things. And so, again, my clinical, my mental health experience and background makes me unique, but also being a woman makes me unique. I'm looking at things differently. And so representation matters, visibility. I want little girls who look like me to be able to say, wow, look at her. I can do that. You know,
Right.
we're not far off from a lot of civil rights things, and we're not far off. I don't know the research in terms of Black women in these city council races. I know I'm not the first,
Mhm.
right? But I know I'm not the millionth either. And
Right.
so representation is extremely important to me. I have my own daughter who looks up to me. I have nieces who look up to me, and I want to ensure that young girls, they see and they know we're having an event coming up too, is if it's okay to just throw that in there,
Absolutely.
for young girls. That's a lot of the work that I do surrounds my people and people who look like me. Of course, to your earlier question, of course, I can explore and support and hear and listen to other people, everyone. But it's important for in terms of representation.
So, in the past couple years, we have seen some very controversial things take place within, the Newport News community. As far as the school system, we had a child shoot a teacher. You know what I mean? And that was something that kind of like, unfortunately, put Newport News on the map. You know what I mean? For a negative reason. And then we had um, a kid went into, I believe it was Heritage High School. I'm not sure. I think it was Heritage with a gun or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, these things, especially if you're a parent, like you said, can be a trigger because, of course, these are our kids and we want them to be, safe. We want them to be able to learn in an environment where they can learn comfortably without having to, look over their shoulders and wonder, is something terrible going to happen or whatever like that. And so, with that being said, what are your viewpoints, on those issues, and do you have, like a kind of a plan of action going forward to kind of, to curb these events, to make these events less likely to happen?
So I think I do I'd be remiss not to say that our current mayor has a youth initiative that is really really positive. He's doing some things that haven't been done in the city before, tied to youth and keeping them off the streets. In terms of again my background, my clinical background, I believe in services, not just in terms of youth and in schools, but that's extremely important and that's needed because we don't have clinical services like we may have had in the past
Mhm.
in these schools for students. But a lot of my platform is saying mental health, getting people the services that they need, because if I don't feel good, how am I going to be a productive member of society, whether I'm an adult who has to get up and go to work every day not feeling good or not in a good mental space, or I'm a child who, like you said, has to learn how can I learn when I got things, whether it's worried about my safety or worried about my next meal or when I'm going to eat. And so making sure that these services are available to students and adults in school, in the communities, at home, making sure that we're getting the services and supports that they need is extremely important to me. To be more specific, though, to your question regarding schools, I believe that we absolutely need more mental health services in the schools. It's really it's even confusing for some people nowadays what is available and what's not. There used to be services like therapeutic day treatment and things like that in schools that have kind of shifted out. I do believe that some schools have like some type of therapy, but none of it is consistent. And then that side, I'm not running for school board, but these things are tied to the teachers and the well-being of the teachers. And in that situation in Rich Neck, that, from my understanding, I don't know anything specifically about these people or that case, but if a teacher is dealing with ongoing behavioral issues, who's listening to that teacher? What are the supports and what's available? And so my plan would be to make sure that I always speak up from the mental health perspective, that I always advocate for getting services and supports in there at all times for people.
Awesome. Awesome. Um, Being in the position that you are now, um, and you've alluded to it, being, in the mental health field and being an advocate for mental health. And I truly personally believe that, that it's all connected. Like you said, if I'm not in the proper mental space, then I can't be effective in my life or the lives of whoever I'm, connected to. Um, with that being said, is it a challenge for you? Is it a challenge of your mental health? Because what happens is that, like, I have a lot of pastors on here, coincidentally, and I feel like they have kind of this, you have kind of the same situation as them in the fact that being in this realm, you'll see a lot of things that the average citizen does not see. You'll see things up close. You'll discuss things that I um, may not ever know about if I don't dig, or if I don't, if I'm not a newspaper reader or whatever. Um, how uh, how do you? Well, you haven't come into the seat yet, but you're going to be able to see a lot of things up close. You're going to have a front row seat to a lot of things, and not all of it is good. Do you feel like you have prepared for that? And if so, how?
So I've prepared for that in a number of ways. And kind of like we were talking about earlier, my that is I've been trained in that. I've been trained to be ready, but I also been raised to be ready. I come from a long line of women who have set our needs to the side, and who were advocating and supporting other people who were taking on burdens that were not their own. But with that said, as a therapist, I learned from when I was working on my license, and the person that was supervising me, is that you may not want to trust a therapist who doesn't have their own therapist, because, like you said, we're taking on so much. We're taking on loads from other people. And so, whether it's me, whether it's people close to me, I believe in having resources and supports. I believe in that. I believe in self care. I believe in the fact that I can't solve every problem. I believe in, if I don't know it, I'm going to research it and find out. I believe in a team. I believe that there's going to be some things that maybe on a team of counsel that maybe I am not the best person or to know about. I think I'm the best person for the role, but I believe in relying on other folk, a village, and that's another thing that's important to me, is having a village. As a single mom, I've had a village all of my life. Most people don't. A lot of people don't have those things, and so I rely heavily on the people around me, on my team, on my loved ones, and that's how I've been able to stay sane and keep going. But I believe that healthy partnership is important for everyone. And so I don't even know if I answered your question.
Yeah, you absolutely did, and
Okay.
what you did was you actually answered a question that I hadn't asked yet, but I intended to ask,
Okay.
as far as community support. Like, do you believe in working hand in hand with the community? Because I noticed that, like, maybe not in Newport News, but I've noticed other places where it seems like the city council and the school board and stuff, they're an isolated entity, and they don't necessarily welcome the
Mm.
opinions of the community that they're sworn to help. You know what I mean? And so I was going to ask that very thing, like, what is your stance on working with the community? And then furthermore, even though people might say, "Oh, she's just city council," there are a lot of people who outside people who have agendas, and they'll come to you and say, "Hey, can you push this for me, and I'll do this for you." You know what I'm saying? Like, and it may not always be in a good vein. You know what I mean? So these are things that I'm sure that you may have to face in the near future. But not to talk you to death.
No, I appreciate you saying that because we almost touched on that a little bit earlier.
Mhm,
With when you asked me, has my opinion of politics changed? Right.
mhm,
One thing that I have always been is an independent and free thinker. While I
mhm,
use my resources and and I'm hearing from other people and I'm listening to people and making what I believe is the best decisions on things, I'm coming into this not owing any favors. And so
mhm,
I know, I'm learning about politics and how we might owe somebody a favor because I did this and I did that. There are a number of people that do not support me and have made that clear because they don't have anything to hang over my head. And so I am proud to say that again, this may be a training thing, an ethical thing, but that I'm walking with integrity. And it's not a training thing. That's just how I've always been. But I'm proud to say that I'm owing no favors. And so you're absolutely right in that people have their own personal agendas. Politics is a great friend tells me all the time. It's no permanent friends, only permanent agendas and
mhm.
personal interest. And so I pride myself on the fact that this is not my platform. It's not tied to anybody else and owing anybody any favors.
That's amazing. That is awesome. Um,
And people who know me can absolutely attest to that. Whether they like me or not, they can absolutely attest to the fact that I always think on my own and I always do what I believe is best.
Awesome. That is amazing. Um, do you have any do you have any specific plans or any plans on how you can keep consistent contact with the community in terms of upcoming things, situations that may need to be discussed or voted on or whatever? Do you have a plan to keep us in the loop, so to speak?
Absolutely. So a lot of the work that I've done in the past has been a lot of back work behind the scenes and stuff. And so I'm trying to be more visible. But I'm hosting a lot of events. I've held events in the past anyway. But like next week, for example, we have an event for girls, pretty girls, cupcakes and conversations. That'll be in Newport News on I think the 24th from 12 to 4 for young girls. And I'll give you more, hopefully, about that at the end. Make sure I got my details correct. But giving young girls encouragement and things like that. And so, but my plan is to continue to do the work that I do, to continue to talk to people. I absolutely plan to have things like town halls to meet with my constituents. I'm out here knocking on doors every weekend. But even after that, uh, I'm always going to be open to dialogue, open to communication. I always have been, always going to do that.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
I just need to post things more and tell people about it because I am truly, and this is a stretch for me because of it, but I'm truly a person who has been in the background making things happen for a long time. So this is new for me in that regard.
Um, how has we're going to kind of like make shift into the whole mental health realm. Um, how has being in the mental health community helped you in your candidacy, like as far as how you go about your political process, or does it play a part at all?
Yeah, I absolutely think again, I've been trained on the things that impact people. As a social worker, we're trained to look at people in their environment. We're trained to meet people where they are and to find out what's impacting them. And so the social determinants of health of people's health, I'm trained to look at things like that, to make assessments, to look at the community needs assessments and things like that. And so I think, again, my work as a clinician and being in the mental health field absolutely makes me a strong candidate for city council. I started out in the mental health field in 2006. I've worked in a number of capacities. I've worked in residential treatment with juvenile sex offenders. I've worked in the schools doing behavioral counseling. I've worked in housing for people dealing with mental health. I've been a social worker at the Veterans Affairs. I've even worked in state licensing, actually licensing mental health facilities. Uh-oh, it looks like we lost the host. If everyone can hear me, I'll continue. But I have a lot of experience that varies. And so I think that addressing a lot of what I do as a therapist, I can absolutely move that over into my role in city council, working with diverse populations. I've been working with people of all economic backgrounds for many, many years. And so I absolutely believe that my mental health approach can be utilized from the city council seat. Now, I don't know if it's me, it doesn't look like it because I still see the time. Um, but I guess I'll talk a little bit more. But mental health, I think, is the cornerstone of a thriving community. I've worked with individuals across various life stages, and that's shown me the critical need for accessible, stigma-free mental health care, whether it's supporting young folks as they transition to or out of high school, which is something that we do at the nonprofit, or ensuring that our aging population has the resources that we need. Mental health is an issue, I think, that touches every part of our lives. It impacts public safety. It impacts housing. It impacts economic development. I think mental health impacts pretty much every part of our lives. I don't know if you heard anything. I don't know if I was still
Yeah,
on, but I was still rolling.
listen, we had a thing where I guess the signal went out or something.
Okay. Well, see,
Um,
that's what makes me great because I know how to go with the flow. And
I
so I
know that's
kept it
right.
going in your absence.
I know that's right. Talk that talk. Talk that talk. That's what I'm talking about. Right there. We are here with Miss Andrea Diggs. She's a candidate for city council in this great city of Newport News, Virginia. She's also a licensed social worker and working in the field of mental health. And um, we've been talking about a lot of things, how everything works together, but we're kind of shifting gears into the um, the clinical part. Um, Being a CEO of, in the medical industry, you deal with a lot of things. Every week seem like there's some new breakthrough of, new medical breakthrough, some new pill, some new drink, some new diet, some new something. You know what I mean? That's supposed to improve our lives, help us lose weight, help us whatever. You know what I mean? Um, in your experience, I mean, how I'm trying to figure out how to ask the question. Um, it's such a fast moving industry. How have you been able to navigate it, and how have you been able to kind of stay abreast of what's what in the industry in order to be more effective in your business? And well, I don't even like to use the word business when it comes to that, but in your movement, in your, whatever, how have you been able to keep up?
So I meet people where they are. I meet people where they are. I help them to look at what I firmly believe that people are the experts of their own lives, right?
Mhm.
While I'm a born leader, I do believe that people are the experts in their own lives. And so I meet them where they are. I do a lot of my own research in terms of mental health. And even when I'm doing therapy, I'm very intentional about the population that I serve and that I serve best. Even when I'm writing things such as my profiles to garner uh, clients and things like that, I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses. I try to maintain a level of self-awareness that helps me do what I do. And so I firmly believe in meeting people where they are. I'm a lifelong learner. And so absolutely, as part of my license, it's required of me to earn credits and continuing education and things like that. And so that's automatically happening. But I think most importantly is connecting with people and meeting them where they are and figuring out, what works for me might not work for someone else. And so laying again those biases to the side and hearing people is extremely important for me.
You brought up a good word, bias. Being a woman of color, not only a not only being a minority in the sense that you are a woman in this arena, one of the few women in this arena, but you're a woman of color. Has being in this field helped you in terms of diversity, being able to um, deal with black folks' problems and white folks' problems. You know what I mean? That type of thing, or Asian problems, or Hispanic problems. Like, has that given you um, a leg up, maybe, because you're in that space with all different types of people.
I think it's definitely a gift. I think it's a gift. I think it's a strength because there are not many Black therapists, right? Um, so being acknowledging that that is who I am. If you could see my office, it's clear about who I am when people come to me. But I don't think that it makes me. It absolutely doesn't make me any less of a clinician. I think it makes me a better clinician because I am very diverse. The population that I serve is very diverse. I'm culturally sound, and I think it's a strength.
Okay. Let me ask you this: as a person who deals in mental health,
Mhm.
is it even possible for a person to be perfectly healthy, like perfect health, to
Oh,
be in perfect mental health? Like, is that even possible?
I don't believe it is. I think that we're all evolving at all times. I don't even think how people say I'm healed or I want to be healed. I
Mhm.
think that's a process. I think what healing looks like for me today might not look the same tomorrow. I don't think I, I I don't think that there's a perfect anything. I think that people evolve. Life happens to everyone. I think this I saw something one time that said if you are a human, then what comes with the job is struggle and its problems.
Mm.
And so I don't think that's anyone. And I hope that people. I've never met anyone that says I'm in perfect mental health. We all have tough times. We all have struggles. We all have, I've heard somebody say everyone has a diagnosis.
Right.
But no, I don't think that it's possible to be perfect anything.
I mean, I ask that because there are some people who look at you know psychiatrists and doctors in mental health, and they kind of like, because a matter of fact, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they were telling me how their father, when they would go to their father, like with issues, like they would have issues at school or whatever, somebody may have hurt their feelings or something may have happened, and the father would just be like, "Hey, nobody cares. Shake it off. Nobody cares about your problems. They don't exist.
Mhm.
Just just move forward."
And from a clinical standpoint, I see that a lot of times I see people we're coming to as a parent, right? Okay, I'm a parent. I have two children, one that's biologically mine and one that is not. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I hope I do my best as a parent, right? At the end of the day, I hope that my best is good enough. But what I tell people in therapy all the time is that every parent impacts their child, whether intentional or unintentional. People don't just wake up, or majority of people don't just wake up and say, hey, I'm going to screw my kid's head up today. No,
Right.
but there's some messages. There's some messages and things that we learn. That father who said that to that child probably was well intended. That father wanted to see their child stand up, face the world, be strong, and all those things. But what that father may have taught that child, especially if he's repeating it and saying it over and over throughout that child's childhood, is that your voice doesn't matter, your feelings don't matter. Keep it in, hold it in, and then that child grows up to be an adult who lacks emotions, an adult who struggles in interpersonal relations, an adult who maybe even has outbursts because they don't know how to deal with their emotions. They're suppressing them because dad said, no, you can't speak about them. You can't let it out. You don't have any emotions. No one cares about your problems. So now that person lacks boundaries because they learned from a childhood that no one cares about their problems. And so I think that as parents, we always unintentionally harm our kids one way or another. Again, I hope at the end of the day, my best was good enough. My daughter is 19. She's on an academic scholarship. She's all these things great, but she never, ever, ever ceases to tell me things that I've done wrong for her. And so, it just is. We do. Again, I know that parent probably was well intended, but some of the messages that we learn in childhood stick with us throughout life.
Okay. Yeah, I feel, I feel the same way about that too. I have two sons and a daughter, and I will not say out loud that my daughter is my favorite child. I will say, but what I will say is that she's different,
Mhm.
and my relationship with her um, is paramount to me in the sense of I know that one day she'll grow and be on her own, and I won't be able to shelter her or protect her in the way that I'm able to do so now. And so, with that being said, it's like it's tough.
How
It's
do you
tough.
find that balance?
Get
When
right.
do
You're
you
trying to
start to let go? And how much do you start to let go? That's so challenging.
right, and so going forward, like last year there was an issue with a bully, right? And I'm sorry, not sorry that I went to the school, and I guess it was a trigger for me because I was bullied a little bit as a kid myself.
Mm.
So I'm in there talking to them about it or whatever, and I felt tears coming because I was so angry, and I I may have threatened them a little bit, and I told them, I said, this time is a courtesy. This time is a courtesy,
Mhm.
but next time when I come back,
I'm not going to be so nice.
I'm not talking to anyone. You know what I mean? And but I say all that to say that, I'm sure that I'm not alone
Mm.
in that space. And I bring that up because I take my hat off to to you and what you're doing, because there's so many lives attached and so many things that to address on a daily, monthly, but yearly basis. And you know, being a being a parent myself, I think that, like you said, the local government is highly important. Um, and effective. Them being effective is important to me as well. I say all that to ask you, how do you feel like being a parent has helped you clinically and politically?
Well, that was loaded. I do want to go back to one thing because I've experienced the exact same thing. And I think I don't know if you're aware that you were self-aware in that moment, but you did say, I think I was triggered a little bit because I was bullied in my past.
Right,
And that's how that things like that happen. That probably wasn't the logical, the however old you are right now, that was the 10-year-old you that was
right,
bullied that was
right,
coming out in that moment. And so that's why I believe mental health is always so important, because our inner children, they exist. And so sometimes they show up in situations because our inner child doesn't recognize that this is not that, right?
mhm,
This is today, and this might not be as serious as what I'm feeling that it is. And so I go into that a lot when I'm with my clients. I specialize in inner child work. I specialize in dealing with that type of thing, and how our past informs and shows up in our present. And so I love that you were able to recognize that this might not even be as much about my daughter and her situation, although it feels like it, and I
right,
behave like it, and I love my child and all those things. But some of this was about me.
right,
And so being able to separate that and work on those things is extremely important. Now, my role as a parent, honey, my role as a parent, I've learned patience. I've learned humility. I have to be humble. I have to close my mouth sometimes, especially a
yeah,
parenting a teenage girl. And so my role as a parent has absolutely prepared me to look at families, to look at the needs of families, to look at again the services that families are receiving in the community. Um, I think that was your question. My role as a parent, has it
mhm,
helped me
right,
pursue city council, and has it helped me in terms of mental health? Right.
mhm,
Absolutely. It's helped me in all those ways. It's helped me to see things not only from my eyes, right? I have to now see them from two other sets of eyes. I have to now pay attention to not just my needs and my thoughts, and I also have to hear my kids. And sometimes as a parent, that's difficult, to actually hear my kids and to actually take their opinions, and to recognize that while they're
right,
little people, that little people also have big feelings, right?
right.
Little
That's
people
a fact.
also have concerns and opinions and all those things. And so just like a person might not have my experience or my upbringing in city council, I still have to hear them because they're coming from life too. And so
Right,
my role as a parent absolutely has prepared me and allows me to help and to see perspectives that I might not even want to hear
right,
and consider. Because my daughter, she disagrees with me every chance she gets.
right, right,
I wonder
right.
if she's listening. Uh-oh. It looks like we might be frozen again. And I'm not sure how much time we got, but I do want to say that running for city council for me, it does allow me to bring my expertise as a mental health professional into to also policy making. I haven't touched on that much, but I believe that understanding mental health challenges that are faced by people in our communities does help me to be able to craft policies that not only address immediate needs, but also create healthier and more resilient communities in the long term. And so we didn't touch a lot on policy making, but I am also skilled and have expertise in that as well. But ultimately, yeah, he's all the way gone now. It's just me again. Ultimately, I think my campaign is about building a community where
Can you hear me?
you bet. I can hear you now. I just kept talking again. This is
I
what
can't.
women
Hold
do,
on.
right? We got your backs.
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I cannot.
Like we're out again. Can Okay, it looks like you're moving. Can you hear me now? I can still hear you. You went out again. If anyone can hear me, I have a few events. Let me try to see if I can pull some up. Do, 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 do. We have, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, you're back. I was just about to go into my little events that's coming up
Oh,
and
me too.
encourage folks.
Hey, don't let me
Because I
stop
was
you.
like, I don't know where we are on time, but I do have Pretty Girls Cupcakes and Conversations coming up. We're hosting that from 12 to 4 on August 24th. We are going to talk about different topics with young ladies: self-care, self-esteem, how to set goals, which is important. You know, I'm spiritual as well. We didn't get into that, but write the vision, make it plain. I don't think we do that enough. And so we're going to teach some young girls how to write their vision and make it plain. And then you talked about bullying, anti-bullying, emotional regulation. And so that flyer is on our social media page. Vote Andrea Diggs for city council. It's terrible that I don't know that. I can also be reached at vote Diggs for the number 4 city council at gmail.com. If anyone wants to learn more about the campaign, if they want to donate to the campaign, if they want to volunteer, we also in mid-September 21st, I believe, we're having a big formal fundraising event. I think it's called the Night of the Woman. We're going to empower women. We're also going to give praise and acknowledgement to the women of our past, and looking at some very prominent and important women that are important not just to me, but to my community. And so it's going to be a night I hope to remember. And so we'll start selling tickets, I think, this week for that event. If anyone is interested, I think the tickets will only be about $30.
Okay. Where is the first event that you brought up? Where is that going to be held? Where is that?
The first event is going to be in Newport News. The location will be given to the folks when they register, because we're still trying to. We're going to have it here in my office in Newport News, but we've gotten a lot of interest, and so we might have to have it at a larger location. So
Okay.
we're exploring that now. Today, just this evening, I found out that it was way more interest than what I thought it was going to be. So we'll probably have to get a bigger location. So we'll finalize that in the next couple of days.
Okay. What would you, if you could have it your way, like what would a perfect city council look like?
Ooh, you asked about perfection earlier. I don't know that there is one, but I think that a perfect one would, because again, I recognize, and I don't believe that we can we can please every single person, right? I don't believe that we can do the right thing for everybody, but a perfect city council, as perfect as I guess can get, is going to have integrity. It's going to have integrity. We're going to put personal needs and personal interests to the side, and we're going to hear constituents. We're going to truly make the best decisions with the information that we have. If it's something that we don't know, we're going to not be afraid to yield to someone else, to hear from experts. We're going to hear from people who are actually doing life and not just saying, oh, I know what's best for you. Again, I think that's what makes me a really good candidate. That's what makes me the best candidate right now, because I know how to put my own needs to the side, probably too much. So a perfect city council has integrity, and it listens to the people.
Wow. Okay. We talked earlier about agendas and people having, things that they want to get pushed through, and they feel like maybe you might be a conduit to do such things. How do you differentiate between the ones that are trying to push agendas and the ones that truly want to collaborate to make the community better? Like, because I know you have to kind of like effectively vet anybody that comes into your space. And so people are coming at you with different things, but there are people who are well-intended that may say, hey, I got a playground program that I want to do, or something like that. Like, how do you differentiate between?
Critical thinking. I think critically, and sometimes I have to remember that everybody doesn't think like me, but I think, and if it's something that someone is saying they want to partner with me for the best interest of the community, I can kind of pick up on that, is this about them or is this about the community? And sometimes it might be both. To be honest, I'm not, I understand that sometimes someone's personal agendas might actually be aligned with their political agenda, but and I don't know that I'm necessarily concerned with that as long as it's best for the community. But I absolutely apply critical thinking, read, research, and if it's something, I also believe in energies and stuff. And if I don't get a good sense of energy from somebody that's wanting to collaborate with me, then, I have to address that. But I do also believe in giving everybody a chance. I do also believe in hearing everyone as much as I can, and making space and holding space for people, because none of us are perfect and I'm not perfect. And I hope that people are willing to listen to me. And on this process, this political process, and this campaign, even up to date, I've had some people who are in these spaces, some of these faces that are in these spaces, that don't want to hear from me. And that are like, oh no, if you ain't status quo, we don't want anything to deal with you. If you don't know this, and you ain't in these pictures, and you don't know this person, we don't necessarily want to deal with you. And that's an issue for me, but it's okay. Because I, again, am trained to look at the needs of people, and I'm here for the people. I'm meeting with the people, and the people can count on me. And not just the people that have voted for me, are voting for me, but also people who don't vote for me. I'm wanting to build connections and relationships with everybody. You back?
Yes, I'm back. I apologize so much. I don't usually have this type of issue.
It's okay. We're flexible, right? Remember, I meet people where they
Abs-
are. We're gonna figure it out. That's
Absolutely.
that's that's the
Absolutely.
woman. You asked about a woman. A woman is gonna figure it out and is gonna make it happen.
Okay. Okay. What would you say is the most common misconception that people have about you?
Ooh. I wasn't prepared for that one. Maybe mm, I don't know. Maybe I'm struggling with two different things, and I really don't want to say either one of them. Um, maybe that I am mean. Maybe that I'm mean. So people probably don't know that I am very introverted, and so I am. Again, I've always been in like the background. I've been making things happen and pushing folks and doing things in the background, but people might think that, oh, she's standoffish, because I have a lot on my mind, a lot in my head at times, and so I'm doing a lot.
Can you hear me?
Oh, can you hear me? I can hear you. You look frozen.
You back?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me at all? Well, if everyone else can hear me, to still answer that question, I think a lot of times I'm always paying attention. I'm always paying attention to things. I'm always alert to what's going on around me. But sometimes people can say, "Oh, she's quiet," or she's mean," or "she ain't speak." Sometimes I don't even see people, but they think that I ain't speak or something like that. So I think in my lifetime, there's been probably that misconception, but also that I have a tendency to speak up. I have a tendency to speak up for the less fortunate or those that lack a voice. And so I'm an advocate by nature. And sometimes if people haven't dealt with their own stuff, when I'm advocating, it's not personal. And so sometimes we believe things are personal, or it's a personal attack on us, when no, I'm not advocating against you. I'm just advocating for this reason or for this person. And so again, it's not personal. And sometimes we tend to personalize things that are not, and people can get the wrong perspective because maybe they personalize something that I was advocating about. And sometimes it's off. It's about the facts and not the feelings, but people can get the wrong perception on things. Can you hear me at all now? I don't know if you heard any of what I said, but you there? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I cannot hear you at all.
Oh, I can hear you. Uh-oh. Looks like he's gone again. But yeah, I think sometimes in advocacy, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. But I think sometimes in advocacy, people can get the wrong idea when folks are advocating. They can see that, especially being a Black woman, we get that stigma of the angry Black woman. When I'm advocating for people and for issues and things like that, it's never personal. And so
Right.
people can misinterpret what I'm advocating for and think that it's about them or it's me. It's never personal. Um, it's always based on the needs of something, someone, or the community.
Absolutely. Um, this is my last official question for you. It's a question that I ask all my guests, and I just want you to answer it as honestly and as openly as you can. Just take a moment, think about it, and give me the most honest and transparent answer that you can. And the question is this: what would have to happen in your life, if it hasn't happened already, for you to consider your life a success? What does success look like for you specifically?
Mm, that's good. Um, if it hasn't happened already, I think it has happened already.
Mm,
I think success for me is, and it also depends on different domains. Like personally, as a mother, success is rearing my children and equipping them with the tools that they need to survive, whether I'm here or not. I think that is important to me personally, but and then professionally, I also think it's happened. I literally help save and change lives. I help
mhm.
people get from where they are to where they want to be. And so success for me looks like maintaining that, whether it's from therapy desk, the desk at my nonprofit, or the city council chambers. Helping to change lives is success. And so it can look differently today than what it might look like 10 years from now, but ultimately saving, changing, improving lives is success for me.
You know what? I lied to you. We did not talk about your nonprofit. Can you talk about your nonprofit?
So I work for Insight Enterprises, the Peninsula Center for Independent Living. It has been around for over like 30 years. Of course, I haven't been there for that long. I started out on the board of directors and now I'm the executive director. We provide a number of different services to people with disabilities, helping them to remain independent in the community, helping them to avoid institutionalization. The idea is that everyone, diverse perspectives, right? The idea is that everyone deserves the opportunity to live and to thrive in their communities. And I'm also, as we talked about, the Chief Executive Officer of Therapeutic Services of Virginia, where we provide mental health services. And one of the services, the most important one that is near and dear to my heart that I love to do, and people say, well, you still like to do that? And why do you like to do that? But that's intensive in-home counseling, working with youth who are at risk of being removed from the home. And so we do that here at Therapeutic Services of Virginia. So got a lot on my plate, but yeah, any other questions about that? I don't know how deep you want me to go into. I'm talking fast, and I think I touched on everything, but
No, I mean whatever you want to say about it. I think that it's so interesting that you've chosen to throw your hat into the ring in an arena where mental health should be the most important thing for everybody, because we need everybody that's involved to have a level head and be to think soberly and to think effectively, and not necessarily um be driven by their emotions or certain triggers, what I'm saying, certain things that they may have, what I mean, like, to be able to be unbiased, and have the right state of mind to be unbiased and to collaborate with others to for the greater good.
yeah, and that's
So
not
I,
to
I
say
think
that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, no, please. Go ahead.
And I, it's not to say that, I don't get triggered, right? Because I
Mhm,
do.
mhm,
And we're all
mhm.
human, right? You mentioned being triggered when it comes to your kids. That's the one thing
Right,
that can trigger me too. But,
right.
how many can you think of? And I'd employ everyone who's listening. How many clinicians have you seen in politics? And
Mm,
I wonder why there is not a lot. Why not? We got businessmen and lawyers making decisions on the needs of people,
right,
businessmen
right,
or engineers making decisions on the needs of people. Not saying that they can't. I'm just saying we need more diversity. We need people who actually study people who
right,
actually study the needs of people.
right. Wow. Do you, politically speaking, this question just came to my mind. Can can a person who is not from the community be affected? Cannot, if a person is not, like for instance, if I was a billionaire or millionaire running for the same office, could I effectively, is there a need for, is there, do you think that there's more of a need for a person who is more of a common citizen? I don't, I, because I wouldn't think that like if I was a millionaire or a billionaire or whatever, well off, I probably wouldn't be living in a certain area. Like I'll be living, ultimately I'll be living a different, maybe probably living a different life than the average citizen in the community. So to your point, I said it again.
Oh no, I say yeah, perhaps.
Yeah. So it's more likely than not that my life would be, my normal would probably be typically different than the average citizen. So is it, so would it like, how could, would it even be possible for, an uncommon citizen or somebody who is kind of far removed from the community to be able to be effective in a seat like that? Do you, is there a need, is, does it need to be a regular citizen?
I don't think it needs to be a regular citizen. I think that it's about the individual person. Because if you compare like the Elon Musk to a Warren Buffett, or an Oprah, or if it's about the people and the person's heart for the people. I don't think being a billionaire excludes you from having common sense or having even interest, because a billionaire might have a chaotic home life, right? A billionaire
Right.
might recognize the need for services or for supports, and so I absolutely don't think it excludes anyone. I just think it's about that person's intentions. And I'd love to be a billionaire, and I still want to serve people in this way. But I
Right.
also know there might be a person who would love to be a billionaire, and then they'd leave and they'd be on an island and they won't have that interest. I think it just depends.
Right. 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 That's interesting. That's that. I was just thinking about that. But I want to be respectful of your time. I thank you for taking the time to come on. I know we only scratched the surface, so with that being said, I just want to extend to you an invitation to come back whenever you want. Please consider this an open invitation. If there's any time that you want to come to promote something, celebrate your win, any agendas that you're moving towards.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Oh, Anthony said,
Yep,
where
I
can I
see
find?
that.
Okay.
Before deciding to run for council, you can Google me. And I can also tell you a little bit more about my history of involvement in the Newport News community. I have done everything from volunteering at the food bank, from going around from Newport News low income communities in Newport News and in Hampton, delivering people food. I've served on the Human Services Advisory Board in the Newport News community. I have coached a basketball team for Newport News Parks and Recreation. I have, I'm sure there's a number of other things. I've worked in Newport News Public Schools as a behavioral counselor for almost 5 years, working with students in Newport News. I have, I currently serve on the Mayor's Committee for People with Disabilities in Newport News. I have facilitated the building of a property and apartment complex. I have supported that and been involved in that for people who are aging and or have disabilities in Newport News. I served as a service coordinator there, getting those folks services and supports that they've needed in Newport News. I appreciate that question because sometimes I've done so much that sometimes I even forget what I've done. But I'm sure you can. Again, I also am a therapist working with people in Newport News and the surrounding communities. But I've done a lot specifically in Newport News, but also again in the surrounding cities. You can also call my phone number. That's I think it's on the website, but you can email me. That's probably the best way for anything more specific or any other information about my service to the Newport News community. It's been a long time.
That's amazing. Thank you, Mr. Franklin. That was an amazing question.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I apologize to anybody who would have liked to comment. I mean, the floor is open. Anybody can ask a question, or if they have a concern, I would definitely, post it and address it. But again, I want to thank you for coming on and this, like I said, this is an open invitation for you to come back whenever, for whatever reason. I also do panels. I have a lot of friends in the mental health community. I would love to do a panel with, a group of you just to kind of discuss the state of mental health in our world, especially when it comes to health and beauty. That's something that I'm really adamant on it for some weird reason. I feel like, quote unquote, and I feel like beautiful people live a different life than regular people. But that's a totally different.
Yeah, you see, I was quiet.
That's a story. That's a story for another. That's a note for another day. But again, I thank you and I appreciate you for coming on. Again, open invitation whenever you want, however you feel.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to leave with the people before we sign off?
I just, appreciate everyone for listening, and I encourage everyone to do your research. Do your research on what is happening in Newport News, on the different candidates. I encourage folk, if they want to know more about me, to visit the website. The website is digs4citycouncil.com. I am an open book. I am willing to share. I'm willing to agree. I'm willing to disagree with anyone who wants to know more about me and my platform. I think for me, I believe in prioritizing mental health, education, safety, and I want to create a city that supports all of its residents, and not just in the mind, in the body, and overall well-being. And so I encourage folks to do that research and support me if you can. Again, my website, you can go there to sign up to volunteer, to grab a yard sign, to donate. You can do it all from my website. Again, that's digs4citycouncil.com. And I thank you so much for having me, because I don't do a lot of this. And so this is a stretch for me. And so I appreciate the opportunity, and I absolutely will be back. And I'd love to participate in those events that you're planning or thinking about.
Absolutely. I thank you. And Mr. Franklin, real quick, I've reached out to other candidates, but for some reason they don't reach back. So, I mean, I'm open to it, but I can only do so much. So if you know of it, if you know of any other candidates that are open to coming on the platform, listen, hit me up. I'm
And
open. I'm definitely open.
that's where some people make the mistake because they don't believe that we need to reach out to everybody, and they
Right.
don't believe in speaking with and meeting with certain populations of people. And so that's important to me, is to go where I'm invited and respected, um, and that's something that you may not see other candidates doing.
Right. So, like I said, it 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 is what it is. Shout out to, I think you and Hope Harper, the mayor of Hampton, are the only
City council,
um
city councilwoman Hope Harper is city council.
oh I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Hope Harper, city council, and yourself are the only candidates that have reached back and come on and came on to the platform. I haven't. I've reached out to others, and I'm not going to say their names on here, but I just haven't. I haven't heard back. But Mr. Franklin, if you can, if you can reach out to some of them and they're willing to come on, please do. I listen. I would love to have them. I would love to have them. And that's that.
Well,
But
thank you for
again,
letting me take a walk with you and your community.
absolutely, absolutely, my pleasure. I was honored to do it. Um, Again, please come back again soon. We gotta link up again. Um, I thank you for being so honest and transparent, and I think the people really enjoy hearing from you, and I wish you much success in the upcoming election. I live in Hampton, or else I would definitely you would definitely be on my
Thank
list.
you. Well, tell your
But
friends.
absolutely, absolutely.
And if you
Um,
believe in the power of prayer, please cover me, because this,
yes,
process is not easy. This is spiritual warfare. And so if you
absolutely,
believe in the power of prayer, I ask for that as well. If you can't vote, won't vote, whatever that is, pray for me.
absolutely. You can shout out your ministry too if you like, and your pastor if you have one.
Well, right now, I have grown up under the leadership of Dr. Christopher C. Carter at the New Hope Baptist Church. Right now, I'm visiting a lot of other churches, of course, allowing folks to get to know me. COVID changed things a lot for a lot of people, and so I got the opportunity to do church from other perspectives, right, from
Mhm.
bedside Baptist. But
Right.
and I have a lot of engagement with other pastors in the area as well.
Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, again, I thank you and I appreciate you, and I wish you much success in this upcoming, election, and even past that, if you decide to even go further than that.
Thank
Um,
you.
I believe in your movement, and I believe that you're truly sincere, and you believe, in the community and what you're doing. And so, I can definitely get down with that. That's absolutely amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem. So I wish you a great night and an awesome weekend, and we definitely will be in touch.
Absolutely. You all have a great day, great evening. Let's take a walk, community. Thank you.
No problem. Good night.
Good night.
There you go, guys. Another great interview with another great guest. I want to shout out again Miss Andrea Diggs. She's a licensed uh, and she's licensed in social work, and she is currently a candidate for a seat in the city council. If you live in the Newport News area, please check her out. Like Mr. Franklin alluded to, look her up, Google her, see what she stands for, see what her platform, see what her platform is, see what she, stands for. And I think that, it's important when we vote not to just vote the popular vote, but we got to do our due diligence when it comes to finding out what these candidates stand for and what they're behind. We have to vote our issues. We have to vote our concerns. And so, um, please do your research and reach out if at all possible. If they have these town hall meetings and these different things, show up. The community needs to show up. Um, and as always, man, I thank everybody who thought it not robbery to come and watch and check this out because you didn't have to. And I thank the people that will watch the playback. I thank them in advance for checking us out. Um, and as I always encourage you guys, if there's anything that God has placed in your heart to do, any vision, anything that you see in your mind, like that God is showing you, write that script, write that song, build that house, get that job, get that degree, whatever it is. Um, I say do it now because where God gives vision, He provides provision. So, with that being said, man, I wish you guys a great night and a great weekend, and I will see you guys next week. All right, take it easy. Let's take a walk.